Oh, there's one way up. Oh, okay. Be careful of that. Three. 1, 2,
70s and early 80s, and many of us have fond memories of Wendy playing here at Milton. Some of the fondest memories that I have involve Wendy playing against Pam Shriver and that great rivalry that she had in the early 80s, and where she swapped titles here at the National Panasonic Open in 2 years, I think it was 82 and 83. But of course also seeing Wendy on TV playing around the world, particularly with her doubles partner.
Graham Quirk, although it really is sort of his place. I don't know quite why I'm welcoming him, but acknowledging his presence, the Lady Mayoress, Anne Quirk, great to see you, and Councillor Peter Matic, whose turf we are on, quite literally, the Councillor for, what is your ward?
Still Toowong.
Still called Toowong. Everything changes in life, and I thought that might have too, but he's the chairman of transport, so he's the man who runs the buses. If you've got any problem with the buses, Peter's the man you speak to. We have, of course, President of Tennis Queensland, Mark Bloomfield, and Mark, thank you for your continuing support, and of course our golden girls of tennis, Daphne, the two Fays, Madonna, Lexi sitting quietly at the back. Yvonne Goolagong was supposed to be here, but at the last minute she couldn't get down from Noosa. And of course the star of the day, Wendy Turnbull. This morning, this unveiling of the plaque is the final happening in Brisbane's Female Tennis Players Tribute Year. But I would like to pay a particular tribute to Peter Racy, who has really been the mastermind behind all of this and the organiser, and I think it's fair to say without Peter this wouldn't have happened. So Peter, thank you very much. He's still working hard. It's the Brisbane Tennis Trail, of course, stretches all the way from Sandgate to Brookfield and takes in rebound walls and tennis courts and everything to do with tennis. And I think it really is a great tribute to the fact that tennis has always been very important to the city of Brisbane. And we have a few blokes here that we should acknowledge. We have Mal Anderson there lurking quietly at the back. Bernard Tomic is coming, but he's driving himself. So, is that him? Oh, well, Bernard Tomic is actually here. So it's good for him to be able to pay tribute to women in sport, women in in just a moment. Because I think it's fair to say, everybody, that tennis, more than any other sport, in tennis, women tennis players have always made a great contribution. And it's about 100 years ago that the very famous French tennis player, Suzanne Lenglen, really became an international star. But women have always been there, and it's not true in every other sport that we know. I think that's probably... that really is the end of my notes. So, again, thank you for being here. We've got a few sort of special events to happen now, special moments. And for the first of those, I'll ask Mark Bloomfield, President, Tennis Queensland.
Wendy Turnbull, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to say a few words on behalf of Tennis Queensland and also the tennis playing public of Brisbane. But before I do, I just want to thank the Brisbane City Council for their tremendous support of tennis over the years.
And playing a WTA tournament here in Brisbane, the National Panasonic, and winning it the first time that it was the WTA tournament was played here. That was a real thrill for me to come back and see the people of Brisbane come out and support women's tennis. And just touching on something that Graham said about women athletes and so forth, we all need role models, you know, whether they're men or women. But, you know, when I was playing tennis, growing up playing tennis, we had Rod Laver and Roy Emerson, who were winning all these Grand Slam championships, two Queenslanders who, you know, I looked up to. And I'm really glad to see that they're honouring, or they have honoured Emo with these tennis courts here, because he certainly deserves it. And also in Blackbutt, they're going to have a statue eventually of Emma, which is fantastic. And I know when I would do tennis outings with Roy Emerson and Rod Laver, and Emma would always go, "I'm from Black Butt," and the Americans would look at him and just sort of go, "Black Butt? You can't say that." And and then he'd say things like, "Oh, we're banana benders," and then the Americans would look and go, "Banana benders? What are you talking about?" And so we would just crack up, Rod Laver and Emma and myself, and the thing is, because I admired them so much, sometimes when you have these role models and you meet them, they sometimes don't live up to your expectations. And I can tell you that the Rocket and Emma lived up to those expectations. I mean, they are two of the greatest people you could meet. They won so much, but they're very much down to earth. And what is great about this Wendy Turnbull Green and the Roy Emerson tennis courts, they are all part of the Brisbane Trail. And that's something unique to Brisbane. You're not going to find that in a lot of places. How many cities can say, we've got the Roy Emerson tennis courts, the Pat Rafter Arena, the Rod Laver Bridge, and then you're paying also tribute to all the women who came before me. My coach, Daphne Fancutt. There's the amphitheatre there. There's the Ken Fletcher Park at Tennyson. It's just amazing. But we do have to have these role models. We have to acknowledge when people accomplish things, because just so, I have my little grandniece, Akira, here today. And Akira needs to be able to see that women can go out and accomplish things. I wanted to be Prime Minister one day. So, no, but she needs to know that she can be Prime Minister one day. She needs to know that, if she has a dream that she can accomplish it. And that's what we have to teach our children of today, to dream, that they can go out and do these things and stuff. But the thing that I'm happy is Free Park now. I mean, when we used to play tennis here.
Thank you, Mark. It's now my great pleasure to introduce somebody, as they say, who needs no introduction, but I'm going to do it anyhow. That's the Lord Mayor Graham Quirk. And Graham, I guess it's a bit unusual to be receiving a petition out here in the park. You usually get them in the council chamber, and it's a very formal happening. But it no less well meant and well deserving than the one that Graham has received this morning. Just before I ask Graham